Welcome to Colonie TV, the governmental educational channel for the Town of Colonie.
Hello, my name is Peter Berry and I'm Deputy Chief of the Colonie EMS Department, and I'd like to welcome you to a health and safety forum. With me today I have some very special guests. I have the Senior Communications Specialist, Lori Kunker, from the Town of Colonie Police Department 911 Center. And I also have Jack Bevilacqua, our Assistant Chief in charge of training for the Colonie EMS Department. Today we're going to talk about several very important segments of information for you, where you're going to learn something about the EMS department, about emergency services here in the Town of Colonie, and how we work so well together as a team. First off, Jack, I know we're here to talk a lot about CPR and the importance of CPR, but I think one of the things that our viewers would like to know is some statistics as to really understanding what the problem is.
The problem with CPR, there's about 450,000 people who die each year from cardiac heart disease. About 80% of those, or 360,000 people, die outside of the hospital. 95% of the people, or about 340,000 people, die in their home. Back in 2005 and then again in 2010, American Heart did a lot of research to look at cardiac events and heart attacks and what makes people survive. They found out that one most important thing that they can do is have people do CPR. So 80% of the people who die outside the hospital, correction, 95%, die in front of their loved ones. And the percentages are less than 10% for people who do CPR. Our goal since 2005 here in the Town of Colonie in the EMS department is to promote citizen CPR, and that's what we need to do. CPR is the only thing that's proven to make a huge difference in the survival of somebody who goes to cardiac arrest.
I think that's a very important point for our viewers to understand, is that one of the stats that Jack just mentioned is over 340,000 people die from cardiac arrest, and a large percentage of those die in the home. So what that means for you as a viewer is that most likely if somebody in your family or a loved one is at home and suffers a cardiac event, you're going to be the only one there that can help. And one of the things that we really want to do with today's program is provide you with some information so that you can truly help a loved one and you can help save a life. Now, Jack, I know the American Heart Association has a very interesting chain of survival, and I was wondering if you could talk to me a little bit about the chain of survival.
There's actually a couple of steps. It's called early access, early CPR, early defibrillation, and early advanced care. Broken down to those parts, if this system, when the system works, from our experience in the last 10 years, it's because every one of those components work together as a team.
Well, I think this is a great time to bring Lori into the discussion when we talk about early access. Now, early access to the chain of survival and the American Heart Association means dialing 911. It means recognizing a problem and placing that call for emergency help. Lori, could you tell us a little bit about what people should expect when they call 911?
When you dial 911, the first thing we need to know is where the emergency is. If it's in your home, if you're dialing from your home, that information comes up on a screen and we can read it. If you're dialing from a cell phone, you really have to know the address that you are at. Once we get that information, we need your phone number. A lot of times their phone calls get disconnected. People are usually hysterical and upset. We need a phone number to call back because we do need to get as much information for you guys as we possibly can. At that point, we get EMS started, or police cars, fire trucks, whatever we can get there to assist the patient.
That's great, Lori. And you know, one of the things that I know, because we work very closely together with the police department, is you guys in communications go through a lot of training to handle 911 calls. And why don't you tell some of our viewers a little bit about that training that you undergo?
We start out with a 5-day basic communicator course where we learn some laws and general emergency services information. We have a 2-day course on what is called emergency medical dispatch, which we use these cards. We're trained to go through all of these cards. They're they are chief complaints, anything from cardiac arrest to a fall to a cut to a car accident. They give us the instructions, the questions to ask, treatment to help until the paramedics can arrive to the people. We are also all CPR certified, and every year we have a mandatory 24 hours of continuing education that we have to do.
That's excellent. And I know the communicators use these cards in a computer-based format, but one of the things that they really help do is identify the severity of the chief complaint, which then allows you to send the right resources to a call.
Correct.
Can you talk to us a little bit about the types of resources that you would dispatch to a cardiac arrest?
A cardiac arrest will immediately get, as soon as we get the address and the phone number, we're going to start the paramedics. As soon as we determine that it is a cardiac arrest, we are going to dispatch the closest fire department, as well as the police car that is closest to that call. They all have GPS in their cars, so we can see how close they are to where the patient is. We dispatch them. They all have AEDs in their car, which also helps. They get all of the paramedics, and if they're going to try to get AEDs into other public work vehicles, so we can also utilize those in the future.
Jack, let's just spin off that for a second and talk about the importance of AEDs and early CPR.
As I mentioned before, early CPR is so important for them to start, and that's one of the things that through communications that when they call early access 911 is they try to give instructions to do CPR. The general public, if you don't know CPR, they'll talk you through it. Bad CPR is better than no CPR because we need to circulate that blood to get the oxygen to the brain and to the heart, because after 4 minutes, tissue death starts. And that really, the clock, once that starts going, it becomes big issues. So early CPR, citizen CPR really does make a difference. We've seen it here in Colonie from the initiative we took in 2005 to go from less than 10% with a goal of 50% by 2010. We've actually met that goal. And we've seen the difference in our survival and discharge rates here in the town of Colonie. As I mentioned, 2004, we're less than 10%. 2012, this year, we're currently at 50% citizen CPR. That is huge. But everybody needs to learn CPR. We've now taken initiative, and actually coming up this February is American Heart Month through Albany County with cooperation from the Remo region. Albany County Sheriffs and the Colonie EMS Department are organizing free CPR training through the county. They're going to be listed. There's going to be classes that are free. It's not a certified course. It's just basic CPR, learn what you need to do. Learn about 911, about defibrillators, and about just actually doing what we call hands-only CPR. Here in the town, we're going to confirm some dates. We're going to have all the dates posted on our town website, and also in the county website is going to have all the dates throughout the county where they're going to host this training. It's a big initiative by the county. It's the first that I am aware of in New York State, and this is actually initiated by the county health department because they saw a need for the training. The more people we get trained, the better chance I have for survival.
Now, I know CPR has changed an awful lot, and I think one of the hesitancies of the public to get involved and do CPR was mouth-to-mouth, was really doing mouth-to-mouth on a stranger or even a loved one. There's been some hesitancy to do that. And I know, Lori, you and I have talked before that it's extremely difficult to talk somebody through doing the mouth-to-mouth ventilations over the phone, especially if they haven't had any training. So talk to us a little bit about how CPR has changed for the layperson.
American Heart does a lot of research. Every 5 years, they do research and get together and decide how they're going to change the standards. 2005, they didn't come out and say that doing mouth-to-mouth, not doing it wasn't going to be good. But in 2010, they actually come out with what they call hands-only CPR. The philosophy is that when somebody goes into cardiac arrest, the heart's just not pumping the blood around. It's full of oxygen. It's just not getting to the brain and to the heart. By doing hands-only CPR, circulating the blood, that gets it to we can get there with our defibrillator, with our first responders to do CPR, and then with our drugs and medications to get the heart going again. That's why, and so hopefully people will now be less or more likely to actually do CPR, because all you have to do is compressions. And it's funny to me, after being an instructor for so many years, to learn that stat that people aren't doing CPR for their own family. And we've seen it through the years here in the town and through EMS through the country.
Now, I know the administration, Supervisor Paul Mahan, and the town board have been extremely supportive in our initiative to increase the number of persons that know CPR here in the town of Colonie. Supervisor Mahan has also been very positive and strongly supporting the placement of AEDs in all of town facilities. We currently have an AED in all town facilities, and there are many AEDs throughout the town. Lori, what happens when somebody calls 911 and there may be an AED at a particular location? Does communications tell the person who calls about the AED being present?
Yes, we do. As long as we're notified that there is an AED in a facility, we have that information in our computer database, and we can immediately tell them where that is and to go get it, and we can even tell them how to use it. They're very easy to use, but we can still assist them with that.
So it's pretty important for our viewers that if you're thinking about placing an AED in your business or facility, that you make sure that you notify us, either the communications center or Colonie EMS, so that we can get that information into the computer system, so that if ever there is a 911 call at your facility or location, our communicators can direct the caller to the AED to use that.
Yes.
Now, as Jack said, with the advent of hands-only CPR, as a senior communications specialist, how have you found the caller's willingness to do CPR now?
A lot of people are willing. They usually will say that they don't know how to do CPR, and when we tell them that we can explain it to them and talk them through it, and we're here to help that person, whoever it may be, they are usually willing to try, at least.
And there's been some great success stories with communicators helping loved ones do CPR, and with the advanced care that EMS provides today, we've actually been able to save many lives with the help of the communicator in doing that early CPR. So Jack, talk to me more about the type of advanced care that's now available that we're providing here in the town of Colonie.
Here in the town of Colonie, we provide paramedic service for every call that we go to. It doesn't matter if it's an alpha, which is a low priority call, like a twisted ankle, up to an echo, which would be like a cardiac arrest, difficulty breathing. With our paramedic level, we can bring drugs and advanced airway control that actually helps control the patient and stabilize the patient. We work real hard to make sure that we get the right resources in the right time. As I mentioned before, anything over 4 minutes, we start to get tissue death. For here in the town of Colonie, we average 4 minutes on scene for a cardiac arrest once they call 911. So we're getting there. So really what we're asking people to do out in the field as sort of loved ones is do CPR for 4 minutes. That's what we're asking to do.
Now, you mentioned our response times, and I know you and I work pretty closely together on monitoring our response times, and you produce reports every day, and we've really been working hard at maximizing our response time here in the town of Colonie. And I know, Lori, communications is a big player in that.
Yes.
We have a very active system status management program, and one of the things that your division really does is help us keep the units in the right locations. And why don't you talk to us a little bit about how system status management works and how communications plays in that role?
Well, once we dispatch an ambulance to wherever the call may be, we will move another ambulance closer so that there's never a part of the town that would not have somebody very close to it in a short period of time. If we're very busy, which we do get busy, we will dispatch fire departments to go and start the medical care till we can get somebody there. We're constantly moving them and making sure that there is great coverage all through the town. And we get them there. We get them started very quickly. Like I said, as soon as we get the address and the phone number and we know it's a medical problem, that ambulance is already driving to the address. And then we'll update them with the other information as we get it.
I think that's important for our callers to understand. when you call 911 and you're getting questions from our communicators as to inquire about the type of event that's going on and so forth, is for callers to really understand the ambulance is already on the way.
Yes, a lot of times they don't understand that, and they'll say, please do something, get somebody here. We are. The minute you call, we have people on the way. It may not be me who is dispatching the ambulance over. It may be a colleague of mine. There are always at least 3 people in that room. So if somebody hears me trying to do CPR on the phone, they will help me by dispatching the ambulance and updating the paramedics. So there is always stuff going on, even though the caller may not hear it and may not know it. And we try to reassure them that we're doing everything possible. We have help on the way.
I think it's also very important for our callers to understand is that there isn't a fire department, an EMS department, or a police department, as separate entities here in the town. One of the things that's really incredible about this town is we have very great strong working relationships with our 12 volunteer fire departments who work closely together. I know Jack spends an awful lot of time training those departments. We work very closely with the police department under the leadership of Chief Steve Hyder. And as you heard earlier, Lori mentioned, we have an all-out coordinated response to a cardiac arrest that includes the closest police car with an AED, the closest fire department, our closest paramedic ambulance, special operations units, and supervisors to make sure that we're sending the resources and applying the resources in the right way so that we can save somebody's life. And Jack, one of the things that I know that we've been doing that we've had some great success with is pre-hospital hypothermia care. And I was wondering if you could just tell our viewers a little bit about that.
Pretty much when somebody goes into cardiac arrest, when they come back and they get a pulse rate, there's a lot of blood issues, radicals that are going around that actually hurt the brain. And so that's a lot of times we may get somebody back, which is called ROSC, return of spontaneous circulation, but they don't get discharged because of CPR wasn't started early enough, the radicals, or there's just too much damage. With therapeutic hypothermia, what we do is we pretty much just chill the body down, cool it down, slow everything down, cool the brain down so it has a chance to heal. And then we've had great success with our medical director, Dr. Daly, and Albany Medical Center, and now St. Peter's and Samaritan Hospital and Ellis are all on board. They're seeing significant increases in percentage of ROSC to discharge, which is a huge, huge thing. Because if we get a pulse back and they don't survive, it really doesn't matter. It's just actually getting them out of the hospital and being able to function is a huge step for us.
Now, I'm sure some of our viewers wonder, when you talk about ROSC, or return of spontaneous circulation, and you talk about learning CPR and the importance of CPR, I'm sure some of them want to know is, does it really work?
Oh, absolutely, it works. We've seen it here in the town. And just to comparing ourselves to the national, or to the nation, CDC did a study from 2005 to 2010. And nationally, return of spontaneous circulation, ROSC, was about 26.3%, with a discharge rate about 9.6%. In that same time period for here in the town of Colonie, our ROSC is 31.1%, which is about 6 or 7 percentages greater, and a discharge of 11.6%. So with the combination of working good as a team, having the chain of survival working, having the units in the right place, getting their hypothermia protocol, we've increased, or assistant CPR also, we've increased from up to 11.6%, which is above the national average. Some of the things within that same time period, 1 year in some of our highlights, we actually had almost a 40% return of spontaneous circulation, which we average about 80 to 90 cardiac arrests a year. That's huge, and we're talking about people, not just about numbers. We also had 1 year, 2009 was a really good year for us and for our patients. We had a 22% discharge rate, that's 1 out of every 4 cardiac arrests. Cardiac arrest to us used to be a terminal event. We would go through the steps, but you really didn't think, the chances were going to be good because we never got back. People go through whole careers never having ROSC or somebody get discharged from the hospital. That is flopped now. the expectation for our crews and for the EMS society is that this isn't a terminal event, that people will come back, and that's a big change. We average, over the last 10 years, between 30 and 40% ROSC, or return of circulation, but our discharge is only 10 to 20% on the average. We're making a lot of changes and always constantly trying to update of where we're responding from, some of our treatments, hypothermia protocol, doing all that, new technology. But the thing we can't change is citizen CPR. The part that Albany, or the American Heart Association, says is the most important thing. So we need the people out there to learn CPR, identify what's going on, call 911, start CPR, get the AED on. That is the thing that we need from our community to help us.
I agree. I think it's extremely important that every one of our viewers understands that learning CPR is easy. It's critically important for saving a life and saving one of your loved ones. Being able to recognize a problem and to dial 911 right away so that you can get connected into our emergency response system is critically important. Now, Jack, I understand that we've got some CPR training coming up, but before we talk about that, I think some of our viewers might be interested in, I know you're the training chief. You're the guy who does all the training in our department, and we do a lot of training. Is if you could just tell our viewers a little bit about how much training our paramedics and EMTs go through.
Well, we do monthly training, and we require our paramedics for the region to stay online have to do 24 hours of training. We exceed that probably by twice as much. We average 2 to 3 hours a month training on specific areas, whether it's updating on cardiac treatment, respiratory treatment, allergies. We have doctors and specialists in different fields come in every month and talk to us to keep us updated. So we're on the cutting edge of what's going on in the treatment. So the average, it's about 36 to 40 hours just in medical training. Plus, we also do the rescue training, operations training, whether it's driver, vehicle driver, rescue, technical rescue, hazardous materials. Within the town of Colonie, the EMS department is part of many plans for technical rescue, hazardous materials, confined space, rope plans. We need to stay proficient in that also. So there's a lot of training that goes on because we have to stay on the top of our game.
Absolutely, and I think that it's a credit to you and your division and the amount of work that's done to keep our paramedics and our EMTs at their best, so that when we're out there performing for the community, we can provide them the best level of care possible. And before we get into just recapping some of the CPR and the upcoming training that's going on, I just would like to say, Lori, thank you very much for coming on the show. I know the communications division does a tremendous amount of work to get the calls in quickly, identify the problem, and get the ambulances dispatched right away. Our improvements in response times is a huge credit to the communications division and some of the changes that we've made over the years, and the close working relationship we have with the 911 center. I just wanted to say thank you for that. Thank you. Jack, I know you mentioned earlier that February is CPR month here in Albany County. Albany County's got some special things lined up for the public to learn CPR. So let's just recap that again and tell folks where they can get access to information and where they can learn CPR.
Okay, February is American Heart Month, so the county is organizing these free CPR trainings. So municipalities all across the county will be, hopefully, will be participating in this. On the Albany County website is going to be a master calendar of where the training is happening all through the county. For here in the Town of Colonie, our classes will be on that master list, but also be on our website, or you can call our office to get the updated information. You don't have to sign up. It's free. You just show up. Our intentions are to do adult CPR, but also we're going to include probably infant and child CPR component to this. The classes are going to take probably half hour to 45 minutes, depending on the size of the group. For the infant and child CPR, it's going to take a little longer, like an hour and a half. And in there, we're going to talk about infant and child CPR, but more importantly, safety, home safety, choking, airway obstruction, because the major cause of cardiac arrest in infant and children is trauma or airway obstruction. Mm-hmm. So that's a component that we're going to add on that you're not probably going to get from the rest of the county, because we feel this is important for the people to know, and it's easy. Once you learn the basic CPR, you can move that from adult, child, or infant.
I can't agree more. I think learning CPR is incredibly important. It's only going to take about 30 minutes of your time. It's free. Albany County is really putting forth an effort, and they've partnered with all of the local municipalities, including the Town of Colonie, to put on these training programs. Jack is going to have several programs available here in the town for our town residents. We urge you to come in and learn CPR. We are going to do everything we can to make it as easy and as accommodating as we possibly can. Please watch the Town of Colonie's website at colonie.org and Albany County's website for the latest information on the availability of these courses during the month of February. And we will also continue to run these courses throughout the year when we can. And again, watch our website for that information. If you need more information, you can also call us at the Town of Colonie EMS Department. Our number is 782-2645. And you can, there's a training button that you can push, an extension to get to Jack. Or again, you can talk to anyone at the EMS department. We'll give you some information on how to learn CPR. I'd like to thank everyone for being here today on our health and safety panel to again deliver a message to you that learning CPR is important and to get out there and learn CPR. And again, I appreciate you for watching today. Thank you very much.
Welcome to Colonie TV, the governmental educational channel for the Town of Colonie.